Choice. It's the idea of making a decision when faced with multiple possibilities. RWBY as a show, especially in recent seasons, has been implementing this theme in and around characters. Pyrrha had a choice to become the Spring Maiden, Oscar had a choice to stay at the farm, Hazel's sister made a choice to become a huntress. Point is that the illusion of choice has been ever prevalent as a theme within the series. Now, if you follow my channel, you'd know that I myself don't trust Ozpin when it comes to most things. So when Oscar goes on about choosing to make a decision, I take those statements and actions with a grain of salt, considering that he and Ozpin now share a conscience. However, the thing about this theme is that it goes beyond just Ozpin. He's not the only character who flaunts the idea of choice around everyone. So, I'm here to ask the question, did these characters really have a choice? Let's first start off by talking about Pyrrha. In Volume 3, she was faced with a juggernaut of a scenario. Amber was dying and they needed to transfer her maiden powers to a candidate, but in turn, transferring her aura would most likely kill Pyrrha's own. If you go back and rewatch the episode Fall, you'll notice how much of a choice Pyrrha really didn't have. So first and most obvious, you have the powers. Amber was on the verge of death, so by using the machine, Pyrrha would inherit the Fall powers. However, considering that Amber was still alive, it was likely that Amber would take over Pyrrha's body. The machine would transfer her aura, and since everyone's aura is completely unique, Pyrrha would take the hit and most likely die herself. So there's that sacrifice she's faced with, her life for the protection of the people. Now, in the idea of choice, there's usually two options. Pyrrha's other option here was to not accept. She could turn down the maiden transfer so she could live herself. However, everyone, Crow, Glinda, Ozpin, Ironwood, spoke of how that would be disastrous for humanity. If she didn't accept, the powers would most likely seek out its other half and everyone would be screwed. So now Pyrrha's in a predicament. Sacrifice herself and keep the powers in safe hands, or let the powers deliver itself directly to the enemy. Pyrrha is a huntress through and through. She never had any ulterior motives. She always just wanted to help people. The answer to what she was going to do was clear from the start. She wanted to protect humanity and its people, and that was the decision she was always going to make. But to add pressure to this decision that was determining the fate of her life, Ozpin stated that she should take time to think about it, only to immediately follow it up by stating that she has till the end of the festival to form a choice. Pyrrha had maybe one day to determine either the fate of herself or the fate of the people. This from the start was never a choice that Pyrrha had. It was an ultimatum. She either sacrificed herself to ensure the powers stay safe, or the entire world would be in jeopardy. The audience as well as Ozpin knew the decision she would make. Picture Pyrrha in any scenario where she could choose to save herself or somebody in need. Everybody would say that Pyrrha would choose to help someone in need. Even after the device failed, she still attempted to risk herself in a scenario that didn't even warrant it. She was always going to agree to the terms of Ozpin. Even Jean in Volume 4 managed to see that there was no choice involved.
So you forced it on Pyrrha?
We didn't force anything. We explained the situation and gave her a choice, and she chose. You were there. You heard her.
Jean is right, Pyrrha was forced into a scenario, her back was against a wall. And it's specifically this scene that makes the choice theme extremely interesting. You see, Ozpin is not trustworthy to me. I don't believe many of his statements, that few of which he gives us. But in this scene, Crow is the one preaching choice. There was no sort of middle ground or trying to understand Jean's anger. He wasn't trying to say the scenarios were lose-lose for Pyrrha, because they were. Instead, he just asserts that she made a choice, and that shows that this ideology goes beyond just Ozpin. We can assume that everyone associated to Ozpin thinks the same, Crow, Glinda, Ironwood, and whoever else Oz has trusted. But what about the others? Oscar, Gretchen? The situation they were in were not nearly as dire as Pyrrha's. They clearly had a choice to go on whatever path they so desired. Gretchen died knowing the risks that came with the job, and Oscar knows that as well. It's the job of a huntsman, and that's where the choice was taken away from them. The Huntsman Academies surprisingly aren't that old. They were created after the Great War, which was about 80 years prior to current day. In the grand scheme of things, 80 years is actually not that long ago. But It doesn't need to have existed forever. It just needed to be around long enough that it's considered normal now. Jean is the perfect example. His father was a huntsman, his grandfather was a huntsman, his great-grandfather was a huntsman, and his great-great-grandfather fought in the Great War. Now, Jean wants to follow in their footsteps because it's been what his family has done. The schools didn't need to have existed forever, just long enough for our main cast of characters to have grown accustomed to their world. As far as our characters are aware, the huntsmen are just how things have been for a long time. I bring this up because of Salem. In the world of Remnant talking about the kingdoms, just listen to how she describes the huntsmen.
Lastly, the Huntsman Academies. These institutions' sole purpose is to train the next generation of huntsmen. The next generation of defenders that will live and die to protect the lifestyle that they've become so accustomed to.
To protect the lifestyle they've grown so accustomed to. It may not have been that long ago, relatively speaking, but Salem knows that this is their lifestyle now. The huntsmen are the new normal. They're accustomed to these people being the protectors from the grim. Groups like Raven's tribe seem to try and actively avoid conforming to the modern day. They live as I'm sure most did before the academies were created. They aren't the most capable fighters, but they don't need to be. They just need to be able to kill Grimm. And that's where people like Oscar and Gretchen's choice became skewed. You see, while not confirmed, we can assume that Ozpin was the King of Vale as prevalent by his cane. He practically conquered all of the kingdoms and the leaders bowed to him. Instead of claiming the ruler, that's when the schools were built, his idea. So now Ozpin has been training kids for some reason to fight in his war against Salem. So the question I ask you is the idea of choice really there when the world you currently live in has been custom tailored for Ozpin's benefit? In the case of Gretchen, you go to this academy and he sends you to fight for him. You're a child soldier at that point. People like Gretchen and Oscar live in a world where without huntsmen, the people are at risk. The world has become very reliant on these huntsmen to now exist and defend. And you can't say that without huntsmen, the world would die because they've only existed for about 80 years. Ozpin himself is thousands of years old, so people have been defending themselves against Grimm for a long time. If the schools were never created, someone like Gretchen wouldn't have been sent to fight at a young age. The kingdoms had existed for who knows how long, but the schools to train kids was a new development. Salem is and has always been Ozpin's problem, but now he has tasked others to do it for him as well. But it goes beyond just training students. The students aren't even told what they're up against. As far as they're aware, it's just the Grimm. Each and every student are not informed about Salem. It's only the select few that Ozpin chooses to deem worthy of that knowledge. So someone like Gretchen died fighting in a war against an enemy she wasn't even aware of. So in a current world designed to Ozpin's machination to fight against his enemy who no one knows about, is that really a choice? Not being told of the threat you're up against, not being told about the relics, the maidens, and what they're really fighting to defend? Is that a choice? They all signed up to become huntsmen and huntresses, only knowing the minimal amount of information of what their real purpose is. But hold on, why haven't I mentioned the relics yet? The Fall Relic, which is at Beacon, is the relic of choice. What significance does this have? We don't know. Despite the fact that we've finally gotten to see what a relic can look like, we still have no idea what they do. That's the main reason I'm not talking about the Fall Relic. But the fact that the relic of choice was at Ozpin's academy alongside his ideology of choice, it's something that I myself find too specific to be a coincidence. But in the end, I'm not trying to speculate on the relics. I merely wanted to pose you with a thought. Is there really a choice they can make? In a fight that was between Ozpin and Salem has now branched out into a war that involves everyone. He created the maidens and that has only painted targets on the backs of those who have it and put them in danger of those who wish to claim its power. Ozpin designed the schools. The world has become accustomed to his scheme and they don't even know what his scheme is. So, I leave you on this question. Was there even a choice from the start? With that said, that is going to do it for this video. What do you guys think? Do you believe that each and everyone has a choice that they can make? Or do you think that the choice option has been taken from them since the beginning? Or do you think that there's a mix here? Any and all thoughts, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're interested in more content like this. Like the video if you liked it. Consider becoming a sponsor over on Patreon. You get all the content early and it really does help out the channel. Be sure to follow me on all social medias and I'll see you in the next video.